Hello, my name is Anna. I'm 30 years old. My sister forgot to end the call. I heard her say it was time to get me out of the house, that I was a drag on their plans. I didn't say anything, but that moment changed everything for me. I started the process to sell the house for $890,000. They came back from their trip all confident, thinking they'd walk right in, but I had a surprise ready. Their keys didn't work. They found my note taped to the door, and when they read it, they completely lost it. That's when I knew they wouldn't just walk away from this. It was only the beginning. Where are you listening from? Subscribe, like, and comment where you're watching. I was eating a sandwich, just some leftover turkey on bread, when my phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. Nicole's name lit up the screen. My older sister always calling when I'm in the middle of something. I wiped my hands and answered, trying to sound cheerful. "Hey Nicole, what's up?" Her voice came through warm, like we were still kids sharing secrets. "Anna, just checking in. You doing okay at the house? Everything good?" "Yeah, I'm managing," I said, leaning against the counter. "Just keeping things in order. You know me." She laughed, that familiar laugh that used to make me feel like we were a team. "How's your Atlanta trip going? You and Ethan still wheeling and dealing?" "Oh, the conference is exhausting, but Ethan's out there charming the clients. I'm stuck in these endless panels about online branding." Her voice had that annoyed but playful tone she always used when she talked about work. "Listen, Anna, I gotta go. We've got a dinner with some investors tonight. Love you. Take care." "Love you too," I said. But the call didn't disconnect. I heard rustling, like she'd tossed her phone into her purse without hanging up. I reached to end the call on my end, but then I heard their voices, muffled but clear enough to make out. "Nicole, you talked to her," Ethan said, his tone sharp. Not the smooth-talking guy I'd met at their wedding 3 years ago. "She's still living in that house, acting like it's hers forever. We need to get her out." My breath caught. I pressed the phone closer, straining to hear. "She's not even contributing," Nicole said, her voice cold, nothing like the sister I thought I knew. "That house is worth a ton in Miami's market. We could get 800,000, maybe 900,000. Sell it, move her into some cheap rental, and we can finally get that condo in South Beach we've been talking about." Ethan let out a low laugh. "Did you hear her just now? So clueless, thinking we're just checking in. She has no idea we're setting this up. The sooner we act, the better. She trusts us completely." I stood there, the sandwich forgotten, my mind racing. My sister, the one I'd looked up to my whole life, was planning to kick me out of my own house. The house I'd bought with my own money, not some family gift they thought they could claim. They didn't know my name was on the deed, had been since I signed the papers 5 years ago. I'd worked my tail off to buy that house in Coconut Grove. Every cent from my freelance graphic design jobs went into the down payment. I'd taken out a loan, worked nights, skipped vacations, all to make it mine. Mom and Dad had lived there before I bought it from them, fair and square at market value. I'd paid them $400,000, every penny accounted for in the contract. Nicole never asked about the details. She just assumed it was still Mom and Dad's, something she and Ethan could cash in on now that our parents were gone. They thought I was just crashing there, freeloading, taking up space. I didn't sleep that night. Their words kept looping in my head. Nicole's cold calculations. Ethan's smug chuckle, the way they talked about my life like it was theirs to rearrange. I'd always been the little sister, the one who followed Nicole's lead, but this was different. They were plotting to take everything I'd built. By morning, I was done feeling sorry for myself. If they wanted the house gone, I'd make it happen, but not the way they expected. I wasn't going to let them push me around. I dug through my desk drawer and found a business card I'd kept from when I bought the house. Laura Bennett, real estate attorney. She'd help me make sure the purchase was airtight, no loose ends. I dialed her number, my mind set. "Laura, it's Anna Larson. I need to talk about selling my house, and I need it done fast. Can we meet today?" She paused, probably surprised, but her voice stayed calm. "I've got an opening at 11. Can you make it?" I said yes and hung up, already planning my next move. Laura's office was in a small building off Coral Way. Nothing fancy, just a practical space for getting things done. I showed up 10 minutes early, wearing the blazer I used for client pitches. Laura was in her late 40s, sharp, with a direct way of talking that cut through the noise. "Anna, good to see you," she said, pouring coffee from a machine in the corner. "What's this about selling?" I told her everything: the phone call, Nicole and Ethan's plan to move me out, their assumption the house was some inheritance they could sell. I didn't sugarcoat it. My sister thinks she can kick me out of my own house and cash in. I want to sell it before they get back. Laura listened, jotting notes on a legal pad, her face staying neutral, but her eyebrows lifting slightly when I mentioned their South Beach condo dreams. "This happens more than you'd think," she said when I finished. "Family members get ideas about property, especially when money's involved. But you're the sole owner, right? No co-signers." "That's right," I said. "I bought it from my parents 5 years ago. Clean title, just my name." "Then they have no legal claim," Laura said, leaning back. "You can sell it whenever you want. Nobody can stop you." I nodded, their betrayal still stinging, but now I felt something else: power. "How fast can we make this happen?" I asked. "Miami's market is hot right now," Laura said. "With the right buyer, we could close in a week, maybe less. Cash deals are common in Coconut Grove. I can connect you with an agent who specializes in quick sales. You sure you want to move this fast?" I thought about Nicole's voice calling me clueless, planning to shove me into some cheap apartment. "I'm sure," I said. "Let's do it." Laura spent the next hour explaining the process: market value, cash buyers, legal steps. She estimated the house could fetch $890,000, maybe more, given its location and condition. She knew investors who'd jump at a property like mine: no financing delays, no haggling over repairs. I paid her consultation fee, $200 in cash, and left with her promise to have an agent contact me by the end of the day. As I walked to my car, my phone buzzed. Nicole again. I let it ring, picturing her in some Atlanta conference room, wondering why I wasn't answering. Let her wonder. I wasn't the little sister she could manipulate anymore. That afternoon, Laura sent me Michael Reed's contact info. He was a real estate agent, early 40s, known for closing deals fast. I called him and he was at the house by 3, walking through with a tablet, taking notes and photos. "This place is in great shape, Anna," he said, checking the kitchen counters I'd replaced last year. "Coconut Grove is a seller's market. I can get you $890,000 cash in 10 days. I've got investors who'd love this." "What's the downside?" I asked. "No downside," he said. "Cash buyers don't mess with appraisals or loan approvals. They'll inspect it themselves, but this house is solid. You're good." I told him to move forward. Michael called his investors right there, pitching the house like it was a rare find. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, updated kitchen, prime Coconut Grove location, ready to go. He hung up, grinning. "They're interested. I'll have contracts ready tomorrow morning." I nodded, feeling like I was finally taking control. That night, I sat in the house thinking about what I was doing. Selling wasn't easy. This was the place I'd made my own, the place I'd poured everything into. But letting Nicole and Ethan think they could take it from me, that wasn't happening. The next morning, Michael showed up with contracts and a notary, a woman named Susan, who explained every page. Sale price, $890,000. Cash purchase, closing in 10 business days. I could stay in the house for 30 days after closing if I needed. I signed every document, each one, feeling like a step away from Nicole's betrayal. Michael said the buyers were thrilled, the title company was already working, and the funds would hit my account the day of closing. I thanked him and he left, promising to keep me updated. Over the next few days, I kept things moving. The title company confirmed my ownership was clear, no surprises. The buyers sent an inspection team, 2 guys who checked the wiring and plumbing I'd paid to upgrade. They were impressed when saying, "Whoever owns this knows what they're doing." I didn't say anything, just let them do their job. By day 4, I was already looking for a new place. I found a small apartment complex in Coral Gables, simple but clean, with a community pool and a view of the bay. It wasn't my house, but it was a place to start over. I called the apartment manager, Mrs. Lopez, and set up a viewing for the next day. Then my phone buzzed again. "Nicole. Anna, you didn't answer yesterday," she said, her voice all sugar. "You okay?" "Just busy," I said, keeping it light. "How's Atlanta wrapping up tomorrow?" she said. "We'll be back Friday. Got something special planned for you." I forced a smile into my voice. Can't wait. What is it you'll see? She said, laughing. Just rest up, okay? We've got it handled. I knew what she meant. Some plan to move me out, probably to a cheap rental while they sold my house for their condo. Too bad, Nicole. I had a better plan. That night, I ordered a small surveillance camera online, a USB charger with Wi-Fi and motion detection perfect for catching their reaction when they found out. I paid $149 for next-day shipping and started looking for a bank to keep my money safe. Coastal Trust Bank caught my eye, a local place with a focus on privacy. I called and spoke to Greg Harper, who sounded eager to handle a deposit of $890,000. We set a meeting for Monday morning. By the end of the week, everything was in motion. The camera arrived and I set it up by the front door, testing the app to make sure it caught every sound and movement. I wrote a note for Nicole and Ethan, keeping it short but clear in my neatest handwriting. Dear Nicole and Ethan, you thought you could push me out of my own house, the one I bought with my own money. I heard your plan to sell it for your South Beach condo. I sold it for $890,000 and the money's mine. I'm starting fresh somewhere you can't touch. Your stuff is at Miami Storage Solutions on Collins Avenue. You have 30 days before fees start. I gave you everything growing up. You tried to take my life's work. Hope you learn from this. Love, Anna. I taped the note to the inside of the front door where they'd see it right away. Then I called a locksmith, paying $300 cash for an emergency job to change every lock. The guy Carlos swapped out the old locks for new ones that clicked sharply when he tested them. Here's your new keys, he said, handing me 3 sets. I paid him and watched him leave, knowing there'd be no paper trail. I was ready for Nicole and Ethan to come back, thinking they'd won, only to find out I'd turned their plan upside down. Friday morning came, and I was up early, double-checking everything. The surveillance camera was set, the note was taped to the front door, and the new locks were in place. I'd paid Carlos, the locksmith, $300 cash to make sure Nicole and Ethan couldn't just stroll into my house like they owned it. My house. The one I'd bought with every dime I'd scraped together from 5 years of freelance graphic design work, late nights and missed weekends. They thought it was Mom and Dad's some family heirloom they could cash in on for their South Beach condo dreams. They were about to learn how wrong they were. I grabbed my suitcase, already packed with the essentials, clothes, my laptop, Mom's photo albums, Dad's old watch, and a few keepsakes that meant something to me. Everything else, furniture, dishes, the random stuff you collect over years, I'd arranged to have picked up by Miami Storage Solutions after the sale closed. Nicole and Ethan's things, their suitcases and scattered mail, were already boxed up and ready to go to storage. I wasn't heartless. I'd give them 30 days to claim their stuff before the fees kicked in. But that was it. No more playing the good little sister. I drove to Coral Gables to meet Mrs. Lopez, the apartment manager, at the complex I'd found online. The place wasn't fancy, just a clean, senior-friendly building with a small pool and a view of the bay. I'd called her yesterday to set up the lease and she was waiting when I pulled up. Mrs. Lopez was in her 50s with a warm smile and a clipboard full of paperwork. Ms. Larson, right on time, she said, shaking my hand. Let's get you settled. I followed her to a 1-bedroom unit on the 3rd floor, simple but functional, with basic furniture and a small balcony. This will work, I said. How soon can I move in? Today if you want, she said. Just sign here, first month's rent, and deposit $2,500. I handed over the cash, feeling the weight of starting over. This wasn't the house I'd poured my life into, but it was mine, free and clear of Nicole's schemes. I signed the lease, got the keys, and moved my suitcase in, setting Mom's photo on the nightstand first thing. It felt strange standing in a place that didn't know my history, but it also felt right. I was done being the sister who got pushed around. Back at the house, I made one last walkthrough, making sure everything was ready. The camera's app showed a clear view of the front door, the note perfectly positioned. I locked up with the new keys and drove back to Coral Gables, my phone ready to ping when Nicole and Ethan showed up. That afternoon, I got a call from Michael Reed, the real estate agent. Anna, everything's moving fast, he said, his voice upbeat. The buyer's inspection came back clean. Title company's almost done with their search. We're on track to close Monday morning. You still good with $890,000? Absolutely, I said. Just keep it quick. He promised to have final paperwork ready by Sunday, and I hung up feeling like every piece was falling into place. I wasn't just selling a house. I was taking back my life. Saturday, I spent the day settling into the apartment. I unpacked my clothes, set up my laptop on the small dining table, and called Coastal Trust Bank to confirm my Monday meeting with Greg Harper. Mr. Harper, it's Anna Larson, I said when he picked up. Just making sure we're set for 9 o'clock. We are, he said, sounding professional but friendly. We'll have everything ready for your deposit, $890,000. I thanked him and hung up, already picturing that money safe in an account Nicole and Ethan couldn't touch. I didn't hear from Nicole that day, which was fine by me. She'd called twice yesterday, probably fishing to see if I suspected anything. I'd kept my answers short, playing the clueless sister she thought I was. Hey, Nicole, just busy with work, I'd said, keeping my voice light. Can't wait to see you guys Friday. She'd bought it, laughing like we were still close, like she wasn't planning to shove me out of my own home. Let her think she had me fooled. It would make their surprise that much sweeter. Sunday morning, Michael called again. Anna, we're set for tomorrow, he said. Closing's at 10 at the title company's office on Flagler Street. Bring your ID and the keys. Buyers are thrilled, and the wire transfer for $890,000 will hit your account same day. I thanked him, double-checking the camera app one last time. The feed was clear, motion detection, armed, battery full. I wasn't going to miss a second of Nicole and Ethan's reaction when they found out what I'd done. That afternoon, I went to a coffee shop near the apartment, a little place called Brew Haven, with strong espresso and a view of the street. I sat there sipping my coffee, thinking about how I'd gotten here. 5 years ago, I'd been so proud to buy that house. Mom and Dad were ready to downsize, and I jumped at the chance to keep it in the family, paying them $400,000 every cent I had, plus a loan I was still chipping away at. Nicole never asked how I'd done it. She just assumed it was still Mom and Dad's, that I was just staying there out of their generosity. She'd always been the big sister, the one who got the attention, the one who thought she knew best. I'd let her think that for too long. Monday morning, I dressed in my best blazer and drove to the title company's office. The place was all business, glass walls and stacks of paperwork. Michael was there, along with a lawyer representing the buyers, a woman named Claire, who moved through the documents like she'd done this 1,000 times. Anna, just sign here and here, she said, pointing to the deed transfer and settlement statement. I read every line, making sure nothing was out of place. $890,000 less closing costs deposited to your account today, Claire said, handing me a confirmation slip. I nodded, signed, and handed over the keys. It was done. I drove back to Coral Gables, checking my phone for the bank's confirmation. Greg Harper had promised the funds would clear by afternoon, and I wasn't taking any chances. When I got to Coastal Trust Bank, Greg was waiting, a guy in his 40s with a firm handshake and a knack for making you feel like your money mattered. Ms. Larson, welcome, he said, leading me to his office. We're ready to set up your account. I explained what I needed: a secure place for $890,000 with online access and no way for anyone else to get near it. He walked me through the paperwork, setting up a premium account with extra security. Funds should clear by end of day, he said. You'll have full access. By 3 p.m., the bank sent a notification. $890,000 sitting in my new account safe from Nicole and Ethan. I sat in my apartment staring at the number on my laptop screen, feeling like I'd just won a war I didn't know I was fighting. My phone buzzed. Nicole again. I let it go to voicemail, her voice coming through all fake concern. Anna, you haven't answered all day, just checking in. Call me back. I deleted the message. She'd find out soon enough. Tuesday, I started getting the apartment in order. I bought a few things from a nearby store: sheets, a coffee maker, some basics to make the place feel less like a hotel. The photo albums went on a shelf, Dad's watch on the dresser next to Mom's picture. I was building a new life one piece at a time, and it felt good. I called Miami Storage Solutions to confirm they'd picked up Nicole and Ethan's stuff from the house. All set, the guy said. It's in Unit 214 on Collins Avenue. They've got 30 days. I thanked him, knowing Nicole would flip when she realized her things weren't waiting for her in my house anymore. Wednesday morning, I got another call from Nicole. Anna, what's going on? She said, her voice tighter now, less sweet. You're not answering. We're back tomorrow. Everything okay? I kept it short, just swamped Nicole. See you tomorrow. Can't wait for that surprise you mentioned. She laughed, but it sounded forced. Oh, you'll love it. Just rest up, okay? I hung up picturing her and Ethan planning their big move, thinking they'd walk into my house and start calling the shots. They had no idea what was waiting. That afternoon, I went back to Brewhaven, the coffee shop, to kill time. The barista, a guy named Jake with a sleeve of tattoos, remembered my order. Back again, he said, sliding my espresso across the counter. Starting to feel like a regular, I said, managing a smile. I sat by the window watching people pass by, going about their lives. I wondered what Nicole and Ethan were doing right now, probably packing up in Atlanta, talking about how they'd sell my house and move on with their perfect life. The thought made me grip my coffee cup a little tighter. Thursday. I double-checked the camera app. The feed was still perfect, the note still taped to the door. I tested the motion detection again, walking through the frame in my mind, picturing Nicole and Ethan's faces when they read my words. I called Carlos the locksmith to confirm the new locks were holding up. All good, he said. Those are top of the line. Nobody's getting in without a key. I thanked him, paid an extra $50 for his follow-up, and hung up feeling like every detail was locked in. By Thursday night, I was ready. I sat in my apartment, the camera app open on my phone, the feed showing the empty front door of the house I didn't own anymore. Nicole and Ethan were due back Friday afternoon, probably around 5 based on their usual travel habits. I'd memorized their patterns over the years. Nicole always insisted on leaving early to beat traffic, and Ethan drove like he was scared of a ticket. They'd pull into the driveway, all smiles, thinking they were coming home to their big win. Instead, they'd find a locked door and a note that would turn their world upside down. I poured myself a glass of wine, the cheap kind Mom used to buy for Sunday dinners, and sat back waiting. The apartment felt small, but it was mine. No Nicole, no Ethan, no schemes, just me, my choices, and $890,000 they'd never see. I raised my glass to Mom's photo on the nightstand. This one's for you, I said. They're about to learn what happens when you try to screw me over. Friday morning hit, and I was ready. I woke up in my new apartment in Coral Gables, the small one-bedroom that didn't feel like home yet, but was mine, free from Nicole and Ethan's schemes. I made coffee with the cheap machine I'd bought, the kind Mom would have used, and checked my phone. The camera app was still running, showing the empty front door of the house I'd sold for $890,000. The note was taped there, waiting for Nicole and Ethan to walk into the trap I'd set. I sipped my coffee, feeling like I was finally the one calling the shots. I'd spent the last week making sure every detail was perfect. The locks were changed, the camera was angled just right, and their stuff was all ready at Miami Storage Solutions on Collins Avenue. They'd have 30 days to pick it up before fees started piling up, but that was their problem now. I wasn't their little sister anymore, the one they could push out of the house I'd bought with my own money. 5 years ago, I'd paid Mom and Dad $400,000 for that Coconut Grove house, every cent from my graphic design gigs, and a loan I was still paying off. Nicole never bothered to ask. She just assumed it was hers to sell, hers to cash in on for their South Beach condo dreams. Around noon, I got a text from Greg Harper at Coastal Trust Bank. Ms. Larson, your funds are fully cleared, he wrote. $890,000 secure in your account. I opened my laptop and checked the balance, seeing all those zeros in my name. It wasn't just money. It was proof I'd outsmarted them. I replied to Greg, thanking him, and closed the laptop. My phone buzzed again, Nicole leaving another voicemail. Anna, we're on our way back. Should be there by 5. Can't wait to see you. Her voice was all fake cheer, like she thought I was still clueless. I deleted it without replying. Let her think she had me fooled for a few more hours. I spent the afternoon at Brewhaven, the coffee shop near my apartment. Jake, the barista with the tattoo sleeve, slid my espresso across the counter. Back for more, he said, grinning. Can't stay away, I said, keeping it light. I sat by the window watching the Miami streets, people going about their day. No idea about the storm I was about to unleash. I checked the camera app every hour, making sure the feed was live. The note was still there, my handwriting clear. Dear Nicole and Ethan, you thought you could push me out of my own house, the one I bought with my own money. I heard your plan to sell it for your South Beach condo. I sold it for $890,000, and the money's mine. I'm starting fresh somewhere you can't touch. Your stuff is at Miami Storage Solutions on Collins Avenue. You have 30 days before fees start. I gave you everything growing up. You tried to take my life's work. Hope you learn from this. Love, Anna. By 4 p.m., I was back in my apartment, phone in hand camera app open. Nicole and Ethan were due any minute. I knew their routine. Nicole always wanted to leave early to avoid traffic, and Ethan drove like he was scared of a speeding ticket. They'd pull into the driveway around 5, all smiles, thinking they were coming home to their big win. I poured another coffee and sat in the one chair I'd bought, waiting for the show to start. The app pinged at 5:15. A black rental SUV pulled into the driveway of the house that wasn't mine anymore. Nicole stepped out, stretching her designer sunglasses, catching the Miami sun. Ethan grabbed their bags from the back, looking relaxed, like they were about to claim their prize. They walked to the front door, Nicole digging through her purse for her keys. She tried the lock, her face twisting when it didn't turn. "What's wrong with this?" she muttered, trying again. Ethan set the bags down and stepped up. "Let me try the back," he said, disappearing around the side. I watched through the camera feed, the audio picking up every word. He came back a minute later, his face tight. "Back door's locked too. Garage remote's not working either." Nicole's voice went up a notch. "That's impossible. Anna doesn't even know a locksmith." She pulled out her phone, dialing my old number, the one I'd disconnected days ago. "No answer," she said, her voice shaking. "It's not even going to voicemail." Ethan started checking the windows, his confidence fading. "This one's open," he said, pointing to the kitchen window I'd left unlatched on purpose. "I'll boost you up." Nicole climbed through her skirt, catching on the frame. She opened the front door from inside, letting Ethan in with their bags. They stopped dead when they saw my note taped to the door. Nicole ripped it off, her eyes scanning the words. Ethan leaned over her shoulder, reading along. "She sold it," Nicole whispered, her voice breaking. $890,000. It was supposed to be ours. Ethan grabbed the note, reading it again, his jaw tight. "She played us," he said, his voice low and angry. That sneaky little Nicole cut him off, tears streaming down her face, smearing her makeup. "How could she do this? That money was our future." "Our future," Ethan snapped, turning on her. "You said it was Mom and Dad's house. You said she was just crashing there. You screwed this up, Nicole." "Me?" She shot back, her voice sharp. "You're the one who called her a freeloader. You pushed for this whole plan." They stood there yelling in the house I'd sold, the house they thought they could take from me. Nicole's voice cracked. "We need a lawyer. There's got to be a way to fight this." "With what money?" Ethan said, his tone bitter. "I haven't worked in 6 months, and your influencer gigs barely cover our rent." "Get a job then," Nicole fired back. "Oh, like it's that easy," he said. "Firms aren't exactly lining up to hire someone who got fired for shady deals." I watched Nicole's face fall, like she was realizing just how deep they were in. No house, no money, no plan. Just the two of them stuck in a house that wasn't theirs anymore. I leaned back in my chair, watching their fight unfold on my phone. It was better than I'd imagined. Nicole buried her face in her hands, sobbing now. "How could she be so cruel?" she said. "Cruel?" Ethan laughed cold. "You called her a drag, Nicole. You wanted her gone so we could cash in. Look where that got us." They collapsed onto the couch, the one I'd left behind for the new owners. Ethan stared at my note, his face like someone who'd just lost everything. Nicole was still crying, her sunglasses on the floor, her perfect image shattered. I turned off the camera app. I'd seen enough. I walked to the kitchen, grabbed the bottle of cheap wine I'd bought, the kind Mom used to love, and poured a glass. I raised it to her photo on the nightstand. "To you, Mom," I said. "They learned what happens when you try to screw me over." My phone buzzed with another text from an unknown number, probably Nicole trying to reach me. I deleted it without reading and turned the phone off. I didn't need to hear their excuses. They'd made their choices and I'd made mine. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of birds outside my balcony. The Coral Gables apartment was small, but it was starting to feel like a place I could call my own. I made coffee and checked my bank account again, just to see those $890,000 sitting there safe and untouchable. I thought about Nicole and Ethan probably still reeling, maybe calling lawyers they couldn't afford, trying to figure out how their plan had gone so wrong. I didn't feel bad, not after what they'd tried to do. I called Miami Storage Solutions to make sure their stuff was secure. Unit 214 all locked up, the manager said. They haven't come by yet. I thanked him and hung up, knowing they'd get the bill soon enough. Then I called Greg Harper at Coastal Trust Bank to confirm everything was set. Ms. Larson, your account's in perfect order, he said. Anything else you need? Just keep it safe, I said. That's all I need. He promised to check in next week, and I hung up feeling like I was finally free. By Monday, I was settling into a routine. Coffee at Brew Haven, where Jake was starting to know my name. A walk around the neighborhood, finding a small park nearby where I could sit and think. I bought a few more things for the apartment, a lamp, some dishes, a rug to make it less empty. I wasn't trying to rebuild the life I'd had in Coconut Grove. That was gone, and I was okay with it. This was about starting fresh on my terms with no one telling me where I belonged. Nicole called again that afternoon, her voice desperate in the voicemail. Anna, please, we need to talk. This is a huge misunderstanding. Call me back. I deleted it, same as the others. She'd figure out soon enough that I wasn't playing her game anymore. I thought about the house, the one I'd worked so hard for, the one I'd sold to keep it out of their hands. It wasn't about the money, not really. It was about showing them they couldn't walk all over me. I'd given Nicole everything growing up, my time, my support, my trust. She'd thrown it away for a condo she'd never get. Tuesday, I got an email from Michael Reed, the real estate agent. Anna, the buyers are thrilled with the house, he wrote. Everything's finalized and they're moving in this week. Let me know if you ever need to sell again. I replied with a quick thank you, then closed my laptop. The house was gone, but I wasn't. I was here in my new apartment with my new life and $890,000 that said I'd won. I walked to the balcony, looking out at the Miami skyline, the sun glinting off the water. Somewhere out there, Nicole and Ethan were dealing with the mess they'd made. I wasn't their little sister anymore. I was Anna Larson, and I was free. If you liked this story, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment about where you're watching from. Thanks for listening.